What an interesting race that was. Well, at least the end, but it's reminding me of something. Something like Hamilton versus Verstappen. Is that going to be part two of that story? Well, today we're going to talk about the Austrian GP rankings and talk about the race a little bit, but let's start with the drivers. And we're going to go through them from 20th to 1st. If this is your first time here, please like and subscribe. And this is me, Diamond Racing. Let's go. 20th and last is going to be Sergio Perez, and there's no denying that he was the weakest of all drivers this weekend. In both the qualifyings, he was majorly off. Red Bull just sacrificed his qualifying in the sprint qualifying to give Max a tow, so that just tells you how much belief they have in him at the moment. So yeah, and in both of the races, he was just slow. Leclerc started behind him and finished like 12 or 14 seconds ahead of him in the sprint race. And in the race itself, Max still finished ahead of him by 17 seconds. I don't need to say much about that. But I know he got some damage from the first lap incident, so I don't know how much that cost him pace, but he wasn't a very good driver this weekend. So he's by far the worst driver on this list at the Austrian GP, and he was also my qualifying loser. So yeah, P19 is going to be Zhao Guan Yu. He had a very quiet weekend, slowest in both of the qualifyings. I think in the sprint he was also last, even behind Hulkenberg. And in the race itself, that wasn't too bad, but he didn't have any good pace in the qualifyings, especially in sprint qualifying. He was so far off his teammate. He was like 0.4, no, sorry, that's wrong, 0.7 or 0.5, somewhere like that. That's just poor from Zhao, and it doesn't look like he's going to make a case for him to stay at the team because he's just not performing at the moment. B18 is going to be Fernando Alonso. Now, he never liked Austria. He's never been good at Austria as far as I know. But this was just shocking. He had a bad qualifying, sprint qualifying, and not a bad sprint race, but not a good one. Stroll finished ahead of him in every session except for the qualifying itself. And he was my worst driver of the race. I know he did a pit stop late, but I don't know why they did that. He doesn't get the point for fastest lap, so I don't know what the point of that is, though. So that's why he's only P18, not a very good weekend for Alonso, and retirement is maybe closer than he expects. P17 is going to be his old friend and rival, Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, I'm shocked he's this low, but then I look back and I remember in sprint qualifying he was out qualified by George by quite a big margin. In the sprint race, Russell was much faster than him. In the qualifying itself, he wasn't that far off Russell, but in the race, that's where he made a very big mistake, pushing off Carlos Sainz or going off and something like that. He also got damage from that, and he finished so far behind his teammate, and he got a 5-second penalty from a very, very rookie mistake. So that's why he's only P17. From P17 to probably P12 or 13 was a very close, with just a little bit of points deciding who goes where. So yeah, good points for Mercedes still, but if you see what his teammate did this weekend, you'll know why he's so low. P16 is going to be Yuki Tsunoda. A weird week for Yuki. He out-qualified and out-raced him in the sprints, his teammate, that means. But in the qualifying itself, he didn't get into Q3. I think Ricciardo did. And then Ricciardo did a much better job in the race. Yuki didn't do a bad job, but I think Ricciardo had more pace this weekend. That's just how it is. P15 and 14 have the same score. So P15 is going to be Pierre Gasly. It's hard for me to put my favorite driver on the grid here, but he didn't have a good race. Well, he had a good race, but he didn't have a good qualifying, sprint race or sprint qualifying. Ocon was faster than him in every one of those except for the race, where I think he did the best job he could, scoring points. and that should be commended. But Ocon had a better advantage, or had better pace, except for the race, of course. So yeah, that's why he's only P15, and he's tied with our number 14 spot, Logan Sargent. I think this is the highest Logan has ever been on my list. He didn't actually have a very bad weekend. Usually he's like 20th or 19th. He outqualified Albon in the sprint. He finished ahead of him with less than a second, but still in the sprint race. In qualifying, he was not that far off actually. And in this race itself, he didn't go back, so that's good. That's all I can say. It was actually a very quiet weekend for him. So very cool. Sorry for that. Yeah, Sergeant. That's actually all I wanted to say. P13 is going to be Charles Leclerc with probably his most bad luck ever. Sprint qualifying, couldn't finish, or just couldn't put a lap in because of a problem. He actually had a very good sprint race. Then in the qualifying, he made a mistake that cost him to start so low. And because he started so low, I don't think it's anyone's fault. That's why I say bad luck. Perez coming from the inside, Piastri going outside, he was squeezed, got damaged, and he just couldn't recover as fast as I thought he would. But to be honest, the pack isn't as diverse anymore. It's quite close. So yeah, Leclerc's only 13th, more because of bad luck than anything else. And it's hard to judge how good he was in the race because he did start from so far behind. P12 is going to be Alex Albon. Like I said, he was outqualified by Sargent. That not happened there. He finished just behind his teammate in the sprint race, which is very good. He had a good enough qualifying, and in the race it was just quiet. Got a 5-second penalty for the same reason Hamilton did. So yeah, not much to talk about. That's 12. Our number 11 spot is the driver with probably the like a coin. It's going to be Hulkenberg. So on the one side, he had a very bad sprint weekend and a very good race weekend. He was my loser or the worst driver in the sprint and my best driver of the race. So that's why he's only 11th, because he didn't have a good sprint qualifying, was out-qualified by Magnussen, which doesn't happen a lot. And he got a 10-second penalty in the sprint race, which he made, of course, on his own accord. And he did have good pace. But in the qualifying itself, he got into Q2, I think he was 11th. Where did get in Q2? I can't remember. But in the race, that was amazing. He finished ahead of Perez, and he finished in P6. That's amazing. That's very good. He would have finished in P8. No, P7, but still. A very good drive from Hulkenberg. He was the best driver in the race and the worst driver of the sprint. 10th place, our first point scorer is going to be Esteban Ocon, and he, like I said previously, had better pace than his teammates. I think he would have been higher if he didn't had such a bad race. Not a bad race, but he just fell off completely after Gasly overtook him. He was a little punchy with Alonso and his teammates. I found that a little bit weird. Otherwise, he had actually a very good race. So, yeah. P9 and P8 have the same score, with P8 going to Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll actually had a very decent weekend. It's an easy track. He outqualified his teammate in the sprint. He outraced him in the sprint. He was outqualified by Alonso in the actual qualifying, but he had a very good race. Going up a lot of positions, so that's very good. And I don't know what much to say about him. He's been doing actually a decent job recently. So we'll see, maybe he deserves to be in the sport after all, but we'll see after the season. And the driver with the same score as him in our 8th spot is going to be Oscar Piastri. Why is he the same score as Stroll and not like first or second? Because he made a big mistake in qualifying that cost him the win, probably, of the race. Had a very good sprint race. I think he was one of the outstanding drivers there. Not too bad of a sprint qualifying, but not that good. But the qualifying is the reason why he's so low. If he didn't make that mistake, got his time deleted, he may have been in the top 3, top 4 maybe. The race was magnificent. He started from P6 or 7. He got second. And if he pushed from the start, maybe he could have won the race. Or if he started third, he would have probably won that race. So it's hard to say, but he did a very good race. P7 is going to be his countryman Ricciardo. For the first time in a while, I think he did a very, very good job. Very solid. He was out-qualified by Tsunoda and outraced by Tsunoda in this sprint. But in the qualifying, he was just so good. I think, did he get into Q3? I can't remember where he qualified. But he got 2 points, or 4 points. I think he got 2 points. He was 9th. Yes. Okay. He got in Q2 and then he got points. That's that. Okay. But he had a very good race pace and both of the sprint and the actual race. So very good drive from Ricciardo. I still think Liam Lawson deserves that seat more than he does. But if he performs like it, it's going to make VCARB very hard decision to drop him. P6 is going to be Carlos Sainz. Yeah, I don't know. He had a very quiet weekend, except for the trouble with Hamilton, and he put over to Russell in the sprint, but Russell took it back, and he outqualified his teammate twice because Leclerc made a mistake and his car didn't want to move. So that's why he's in P6. Just a decent, no mistakes type of a weekend for him. So that's very good. Our top 5 is going to start off with Valtteri Bottas. You wonder why he's here, but he actually had a very decent qualifying in both of the times. He was much faster than his teammates. In the sprint race, that wasn't too bad from him, but in the actual race, he had a very good race in the car that he has. So that's why he's only here. It's hard to compare with the other drivers, but I think he deserves a P5 spot. For the first time in a while, P4, P3, and P2 all have the same score. And the reason how the people get on top is with, like in F1, if you have more wins, so more first places, you get higher up. So that's how it works. But our 4th place with the same score as the rest is going to be George Russell. Now Russell, I think, had a very perfect week for him. Good pace in both qualifyings, good pace in both of the races. I think he was definitely the 3rd fastest driver over the whole weekend in on Sunday, maybe 4th after Piastri and 4th after Piastri and sprint as well. But he didn't make any mistakes this weekend, and that's very good. And that's why he is P4. And he got the win because of that. So that is why he is 4th. And he had a very good weekend, much better than his teammates. Okay. 3rd place is with the same score as 4th and 2nd is going to be Kevin Magnussen, and I'm very surprised he's this high up. But he got a very good sprint qualifying. He was my best driver of the sprint. He was outqualified by Hulkenberg, but not by much in the qualifying. And he also had a very good race, not as good as Hulkenberg, but still a very solid. Maybe a great, no. Hulkenberg had a great, he got a good race. Both of the Haas drivers did a very good job this weekend, but they always do good here for some reason. I don't know why. But Max had a very good job. So maybe he can keep that seat if he keeps on driving like this. Whew. Runner up, and 2nd is probably how the race should have ended if this driver didn't break both of their cars. 2nd place is Max Verstappen, and let's get into that now. This race was boring until Verstappen and the Norris fight started. I think Max made a lot and lots of unnecessary moves, probably dirty moves, but he can get penalized. The reasoning for that, you can decide if it's the home race of the Red Bull, or they just don't care to punish Max anymore. But it was a very interesting race. A very hard fought race. Over the line sometimes. Norris did make a few lunges, but that was in the rules of what happened, or in the rules of the racing. But Verstappen did stuff that should not have been not punished. And he is the reason why both of them got punctures, and he's the reason why he has 10 points, Lando 0, where otherwise he would have gotten 7 points instead of, well, he got more points because of this crash in the championship than he would have gotten from finishing second or first with Norris second. So, yeah, I thought Max Verstappen probably have gotten better, but he probably hasn't. So, let's see how the rest of the year is going to go. That's why I said it's probably going to go be like 2021 all over again. But this time it's more like a Hamilton-Rosberg situation than a Hamilton-Verstappen situation. Because these two are actually friends. So yeah. But Verstappen would have probably finished P1 on my ranking if he didn't do that and he finished P2 because he had a very excellent weekend. He was my top driver in the sprint qualifying and in the actual qualifying, and he was second in the sprint race in my ranking after Magnussen. So he threw it away in the race. So yeah, and P1, of course, the only reason he's P1 is because Verstappen crashed into him. Otherwise, it would be P2 or P3. It's Lando Norris. Just a decent weekend. Kept it clean. He was very fast in the end, and he made very good lunges. And Verstappen didn't expect him to fight so hard, and that's why Max went over the line. Because Lando put Max Verstappen, of all people, under pressure. And it's the first time a driver has done that since Lewis Hamilton. Or, well, Leclerc also have in 2022. But this pressure is more like a championship fight, like in 2021. So that's why Lando Norris is set first. Not because of driver of the day, because Hulkenberg probably deserved that. But Norris is first in my ranking. Only because Verstappen decided to throw the rankings in the dustbin because he wanted to crash. So yeah, I'm not going to give you my Austrian ranking, or I'm not going to do my fantasy anymore because I'm not interested in that anymore. I did Austrian rankings, predictions, but I don't know where I put it, and I didn't make a video because I was quite busy. So here is my Silverstone predictions. My good drive is going to be Yuki Tsunoda. I think he's going to have a good race there. My bad drive is going to be the hometown hero, Lewis Hamilton. I don't know why he's going to struggle, but I don't think he's going to have a good race there. I think Russell's going to outperform him again. I think Paul is going to go to Verstappen. And my top 5, without any reasoning, is going to be 5th place Sainz. Ferrari is not going to be that good. 4th place Russell. Like I said, he's going to be better than Hamilton this race. 3rd place is going to be Valtteri Bottas. Don't ask me how he's going to be there, but he's going to be there. I guarantee it. 2nd place Norris and 1st place Verstappen. They two are going to fight again and again and again. And Norris is probably just going to have a less faster car than he expected, or they're going to have a super fast car. We'll see. And my crazy prediction is going to be Alpine scores points again. And that's my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's my first video in a while with the reviews and stuff, and I'm trying to change the way I talk and the way I represent the videos. So if you like that change, please let me know. I just took a break to think about the future of this channel, and I really want to go forward with it. So please like and subscribe if you want to see the predictions for the next race or the rankings. And the end of your rankings, please subscribe. And let me know who do you think is in the wrong place and who do you think was wrong in that crash. Cheers.